Hello. And so it begins the show. And thank you for that follow. Babartizal 7133. I really do appreciate it. And hope you have a wonderful day. Now, this time I put it the the Chill Hop Tunes services playlist on a full random shuffle. We'll see what happens. Opening up our documentation system in the background here. And the game. Sorry. Deleting this one. Oh, I didn't realize it has a green button. Yeah, it's a small old school Wacom tab. None of these modern things where everything's a tablet with a screen so we can actually see what you're doing. No. It's old school. Where there's enforced disassociation with what you have to figure out where you're where your hand is without looking at it. Nice and awkward. So that can keep on loading and saving. Okay, we jump here and we switch scenes to this one. Now, last time we got most of our runes done and we came to the conclusion that what I had built was in my opinion, still valuable. It's kind of pointless. In the sense that we built out a tinkered logical structure for what the runes do and in the circle. And we came to the multiple conclusions. One that was that, so we can make an attack. We can, let's see. There we go. So, we can create an attack object, essentially. Everything that we need to create the node, but we don't know where the attack is. We do. Where? And add here, need a transform matrix, but we'll just call it the transform 2D because that is what we're using. It is the 2D matrix, being a series of x's and y's. So usually, so 1, 2, 3. It's 3x3, 2x2, that kind of stuff. Wait, no, I think that would still be a 4x4 matrix. It's the wonders of math. You can have multiple numbers in a matrix or a grid. Multiply those couple of grids with each other, and then it can contain all the information of location, direction, rotation, all kinds of stuff. It is actual literal magic. Okay, interesting music. I'm digging it. Now, so the problem is we can create it, but we don't know where the attack is going to be. So we can't have the rune blindly create an attack, because we could give that attack the information then to the attack manager. Now, if we were doing something as simple that every enemy has a hard-coded attack, has their own separate attack manager and everything, then we could do this, because the attack manager could just ask the players like global information, like, hey, where are you actually aiming? Hey, I got this attack for you. Where do you want it? Now, as I said that as a joke, now I realized that might not be the worst of ideas. But another problem was that with the way we've originally built and designed this was that we would be doing the math every time. I want to capitalize that one. Every time we attack, all the math is done, which is pointless, because the math will never change. The answer will never change. You see, that is how you get complex machines, complex games to work efficiently, by making sure they never have to do the math multiple times. Because math takes steps, and the machine can only do X amount of math per second. With more cores, so you can make even more math per second. In the end, every single math sort of thing boils down to binary mathematical steps. Abstracted to more complex things which are more human readable and understandable, but on this lowest level the machine is moving ones and zeros around, and depending on what values where, doing stuff, So the more math you do, the more processor has to do math. Good example is, for example, things like Dwarf Fortress. It doesn't look like graphically, mechanically that challenging, but it is doing a lot of math and simulation at the same time, which is then why you used to have the classical problem of FPS death, where eventually the FPS went to 0 because it was simulating so much. Because it simulates every single dwarf, their history, their friends, their feelings, how they're feeling, every like organ's separate health, and that is for everything on the map. And then there's water pressure and so on. So simulations are always, even no matter how simple, because even the most like complex simulation, like Stationeers, is behind the scenes the same as Dwarf Fortress. It's math, and every single math step means that the machine can't do other math that has to do with then graphics, location, all the other things. So this is why math every time is bad. Math only once, because I was originally thinking about this sort of as if this was a tabletop RPG, a book, so that okay, if you have your power source, and then you're affected by a curse, or the environment somehow makes it worse for you, and that will affect your input of power here. I'm like, all right, cool. So I want that to affect things, and we might still want to do something like that, but we can then figure that out as a debuff system. So it just adds an extra multiplier. That might be done after the attack, or then a certain map when we enter it, we calculate how would our current magic power system work in this environment. And even then, maybe in doing a map run, we change environment. So when that happens, we'll trigger a sort of recalculation. Like say we have a fire, like our basic one is sucking in, like, let's say, the ambient magic of the universe into itself, into a rune, and using that as a power source for our runic circle. Now, what if we enter an area that is, say, magical volcano land kind of thing? So it is predominantly, it's more like, it's not an even balance, but leans towards the element of fire. And where our current magic is, in fact, a fireball. Well, surely that means that our raw numbers will not be leaning towards fire. So that will affect the math of what go through the filter and the output. And so, being in a fire environment, doing fire magic, makes the fire magic more efficient. Which would be interesting to use in, say, more of an automation crafting game. Who knows? Maybe we'll pivot the entire system there. I saw people playing like Mine Mogul, and I was thinking what if we did like a mining automation game, but magic, Or the alchemy thing. Well, the alchemy crafter game it does things I've seen a lot of games do, and then I don't like. Just graphically, though. It annoys me when things like just like flying around for like no fucking reason. Like, I can take some abstraction and divorce me from reality, but I mean, come on. Too much is too much. What's the one? Suspension of belief. Now, yeah, I do believe everything's running. Excellent. So that's why we do math only when necessary, because I still would like for the environment to matter and affect you, because I want that to be a part of the design challenge. So first I was thinking, okay, we do math only once, which is like when you change the runic stuff, and then stuff gets applied. But we'll reword that into new. I'm digging it. I like the beginning here. Only math. Only math when necessary. Alright, we're gonna have to do a thing. There's ads, so that's fine. And that will involve me do this one. We go here. Now what I have all is. I do have a playlist here, and I wanted to add that one there. There we go. So we only math when necessary. At this point, we're only doing the math which means we'd have to do the function for do the math. Which means need func or Do the math. Excellent. Yeah. Because like I said, I want the environment to matter. I want that to be a challenge for the player, and that is why this is something I want to take into account at this point in the design phase, so I don't have to retroactively change it. Because I mean, like I was saying last time, there's a lot of things. I mean, it's easy for me to like get lost in like, oh no, I need to figure this one out for the future already. What if this happens? What if that happens? And we're like, no, that is a future me problem. Right now, we just need to get it to kind of work. And we got to that kind of point, and now. Whereas this one is an actual core component of the game. I want the environment to matter. I want there to be elemental imbalances and so on. Depending on the map and the environment, you might have different builds for different places you want to go and so on. And that is like a core component. That is why this is a sensible plan for the future. Because last time when the ideas I was having like that I was mentioning that I might want to consider for the future were things what just popped into my head like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? I'm like, well, we don't know. Because that was like just as a random ass thought, like, oh, what if this happened? Well, we'll find out then. So we don't need to worry about that one now. Whereas this one is, like I said, part of the whole core concept of adventuring into foreign lands and extracting resources from the locals. Finally. Now, what are we doing today? We need to then rebuild our attack system. We figured out a lot of the core concepts. But one of the things is, we need to have a function inside the magic circle itself for it do the math. So we can call on it whenever. So we can use it when we are in a map, the environment changes, then we can say do the math. And it does the math. And now we know, oh, we've entered the fire zone, there's like a trigger, do the math, now we're in the fire zones, however that affects your final attack. And then the final attack is stored as a sort of static data structure, and then we'll keep on calling the same one. Realize the YouTube chat is on top chat. Not that really matters. There's so few chatters there. Sorry, YouTube. You're not always that active, but that's okay. I love you anyway. And it's weird. It has top chat and live chat. Live chat is all chatters. Top chat is curated somehow. How? No one explains. Mysteries. Deep, dark mysteries. AI overlords. Deciding what is and isn't acceptable. Be reacted to. So then we'll need the function for do the math, because it'll be activated then, and also whenever we make changes to the runic circle, we can use the same do the math function for calculating what would this runic circle do. Yeah, do the math, which means figure out final form of attack, save final form of attack, and then when we make an attack, the one who's making the attack asks its runic circle, hey yo, give me a copy of this attack. Or, oh yeah. Now, if you have a global that generates the node scene itself, it's going to need the transform 2D. The entity making the attack will know where it is and where it's aiming. So the transform 2D comes from attacker. So we'll do attacker node. Gives out the T2D, transform 2D into the attack. Now the attack information will then be stored in a variable somewhere, the spell circle of our design. Now, if the environment is affecting the player, then of course, if you successfully move an enemy with a sort of, again, fire-based attack out from a fire-heavy area, the attack efficiency of them should go down as well. And do the math is only for the core attack. Then after that, there might be buffs and debuffs. We might even change the logic here. We don't. But we have to do the math only happen when we change attack structure, and then environments have effectively a buff debuff system that is applied to the attack when when it's cast. It has to be when it's cast, not when it hits. Because when it hits, well, what if you choose from one area of effect into another? I want the effect, well, the spell won't be changing its nature when it crosses over. Its nature should be defined when it is created. So in that way, yeah. We'll still have to do the math because we still need it for, like I said, when we make changes, we need to design the hacking a runic circle. So this, but still, yeah, the point is this needs to be in the circle. Circle uses these components to figure out if we're doing the math. Circle. Pom, pom, pom. Circle does the math. So we get the transform from the attacking node. And I'm wondering, like, okay, so but the attacking node is also one who does the attack, because, we'll have these nodes be the player, the enemies, as they move around, deciding should they or should they not attack. If they do, they will give out their transform information of where the attack is made. Now the global creates the scene. The global needs that one. And I'm like just... wild things happening here. Right, give me a quick sec. Okay. Things just falling over a little bit. And then we have the attack from the circle. But how do we get the circle information then? I'm just wondering, like, who does the attacking node? See, if we have the circle here in this here little shitty diagram. Circle. Almost. One of these days I might learn to write. Today is not that. You know what? None of that makes sense. It's fine. Making fine. So the point is, does the attacking node ask its circle for the attack information and then package those two together? Or does the attacking node give its transformation information to the circle, and then the circle gives that information? So these are the ones because I've been talking about these like logic flow things. Who asks for what and who carries what? Okay, now the one the circle is to always be able to do things. Oh, well, there we have it. Because I'm thinking like, well, but why would this matter? It matters because we need to know who is attacking who might this thing at damage. Do we have friendly fire? Do we not have friendly fire for this kind of damage? Can you hurt yourself? I want for certain things to be able to do that, certain things maybe not. And, well, that explains it then. The circle must give its information to the attacking node because it can then inform further who is doing the attack. Because then we can have separately a player attack manager and a enemy attack manager who will always assume main target. Enemy, main target, player. Because that would then have this, because then we'd have, a same tag, friendly fire, possible, yes, no. And it means different things. All the player's attacks will always affect all enemies. Sometimes they might affect the player itself. Whereas some enemies will be able to attack each other as well. Because I think that could be interesting. You could have a tactical element, piss off one group somewhere, run off into the territory of another, and try to get them to fight each other. We can have, that sounds like way more complex behavior than I will end up putting in. But maybe it'll work. And if you have, say, like fire, like purely fire elemental kind of enemies and they make fire attack. Well, they can't really harm each other because they're all made of fire. So it's one of these silly things. Whereas then there's other enemies who might not be quite as immune to the thing. Wait, but that's an immunity question. That's a resistance. Anyway. I have successfully answered my question where this is no. That is no. This is the flow. So the attacking known asks the circle for the attacking information, and then that gives it forward to the global. So then I don't need to worry about the circle doing anything with the global. That was pretty much what I was thinking about. Should the circle have the connection to the global or not? No. So we can have the circle will have a, I don't know, give attack info command function, and that one will give the attack structure, which means we need the proper attack structure now, don't we? So we'll have create new attack, a resource. We built one for the elemental power resource thing, and we might have to rebuild the entire thing. We'll see. Because for now, it's like very object-oriented coding kind of thing, where the resource actually just with its it contains a class, it contains a resource, and what it effectively is an object-oriented class where we have inbuilt variables and inbuilt functions, and now it is an object, and we can tell it to do things. Wonderful. First now did I realize that I wrote need transform 2D. Well, we all knew what I was talking about. In other words, we need to then define what is. What is in an attack? And do we need multiple scenes? But that is something we can figure out way later on. Because I don't know, we'll have to figure out which one is more optimal. Because we can have the same resource for everything. And then it will just, depending on, do we have one like mega scene that can transform into any and all forms of attacks, as in have different shapes and so on. Or do we have multiple types of scenes for different kinds of attacks, for bolts, beams, AoEs, and so on. It might be better to have a single one, because then we don't have to remove that scene and create a new one, but the existing scene can just change shape. Or like if we have a bolt that turns into an explosion, which I'm so far imagining we should hopefully be able to do using a change of nature from bolt to AoE. There's a very short-term AoE, and that is explosion. Because, we're not going to do complex. What about simultaneous attacks? Hey there, Red Fogel. In what way? Because every attack becomes its own scene. That's why in the scene in the game, we have this sort of attack container here. We're using this level. Because every time we spawn in a new attack scene, it creates a new copy of this one, which is completely independent, and it places in this one just. Okay, it's only inside the attack container, so it's just more organized. But if we say press F6, we should hopefully not be broken currently. There we go. We click here on remote, and here we see the active sort of scenes and things that are in the game. We see the enemy, which is this block here, the player, and we see the attack container because it contains attacks. I can't do this simultaneously, but if we click here, see every time I click the button, it creates a new copy of that scene and puts it in here. We can see them for a little while before they delete themselves. So we can have multiples. As you can see, we keep on creating new ones. We're going to have to do something about how they name themselves at some point. Because right now, the very first one is called attack, and every one of the others gets these generic names. And we'd like them all to have either a generic name or, even better, named after who created it. And can attacks ever interact with each other? Absolutely. Yeah, we can make that happen. Similar to, because they have the same logic as the enemy well, no, the enemy actually has the same logic as our player, so it has a physical presence. The attack is actually just an area. So this is this physics area here, this blue circle. And we are using an area 2D, so it's an area of detection. And we are detecting, here we have that symbol, here we go to node signals on body entered. But we can look for also body shape entered, we get other areas entered. So it can detect other area 2D nodes or other things. We're currently looking for body, and one of the bodies is the character 2D model. And here we see on body entered, then the body. So when there's an overlap between that one and a node the engine considers a body, then we check if that body is in the group we define as enemy, which the enemy is here. Its node is under a part of a group we have named enemy. So it detects what it's hitting. And because this is our very super simplistic testing platform. And what it does is prints enemy hit here in the terminal and Q free, which means it deletes itself. So this is the kind of logic the Godot allows you to very easily just detect. Have you encountered something? Then we check what is it and should we react? So this way we can definitely have different attacks so you can have ricocheting attacks, changing their direction or nullifying each other. Absolutely doable. That's why I'm trying to build everything in an awkward way at the beginning, because I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I have a sort of vision in my head, and that's what we're doing. First we do writing, pen and paper, so we can figure out what all do we need, because I want it to be as modular as possible, because the core concept of the game is the build your own attack out of blocks kind of thing. You're calling it the runic circle, but the idea is we have different kinds of blocks. Game progresses, you get more blocks. And then you build your own magical spell, your own attack. So now we have to figure out what is in an attack. And so far we have put in various things. Now, if I jump back here and we look at, because these are all inbuilt nodes and so on. This is the kind of stuff so what I got here and that actually works is the kind of stuff I've done a lot doing the mini game jams, that I did every weekend for the most of the last year, where I'm using existing nodes, the game engine itself, and so on. And everything the Godot allows me to do to very quickly get something that works, the functions, and detects and so on. So the physics and all that, I'm not touching. I'm letting the engine handle that. But for my sort of attack crafting system here, I need to make it my own, and I want the math to be happening outside of the node logic for the engine itself, because the engine itself is very good, but all of these take math resources. We don't need them to happen here. We only need these nodes themselves for when we need to have a user interface, a UI to show the player. And make the attack a list of function pointers with each assigned at creation, and that does its effect. Essentially that kind of stuff. But so far we have tried to build our own classes, trying to figure out what all can we and can't we do with Godot, and especially using their sort of resource system. So we have building our circle base. So this is what we'll be working on today, because we spent some time in the past, last week, first figuring out the base class for a power source rune, how are magic powered, then a filtration system with rune filtration. Well, again, because we have the rune base, which is your most base class. What does every rune have? It has a name, it has a sprite for its UI, and then we'll probably have a type, which currently we just have an undefined string, and some to-dos. Because it's all filled with to-dos and figure it out later kind of bits, because we're not entirely certain how all of this is going to work. Just like I figured out, we're going to need this is very uncomfortable music. This tickles my brain wrong. It's neat, but it wasn't the kind of the stuff that'll help me focus. Because then we have the prototype for an activate rune function that every rune has, but they all then overwrite that with their own behavior, so that when we put whatever rune we want into the circle, they all get they'll all do the thing using the same, because I don't have to care about what kind of rune I'm activating, which you call activate the rune, and it'll do its thing and affect the final output. And then the attack itself is, we can look at there. Currently we just have the animation, which I'm saving in strings for the addresses for where we have the animation information. Oh, actually no, for this one is because we have an animated sprite, so the animations themselves have names. I have some pre-made assets we're using for At least for testing purposes, who knows, maybe we'll keep them in the final product. They're free to use from itch.io, but they will absolutely 100% be then accredited, just like they have in every single mini project I've done so far. Now the idea is, our attack needs to know its speed, its size, its ultimate damage, what kind of animation does it have, and then type for, is it a bolt, is it a beam, is it area of effects, and so on. And we want to make sure, because I would imagine that making an attack, you could, the game to allow for the situation where you can design a sort of multi-phase attack, where first you like launch a bolt and it reaches a point and it explodes. And what is an explosion? It's an AoE attack. So we do, just like you can then have a, like, what if you make a magical shield? Well, that's also an AoE effect. So it's an AoE, but then instead of doing damage, it does like negative damage or something. We'll figure it out when we get there. But every attack will then have, ultimately, at its core, like what is the minimum we need? Because that's also why I like to build things modularly, is because then we can change things in the attack. We can make it more complex later, but then the rest of the magic stuff will still work, because it just does the attack and gives that the attack sort of array or object to the next one. Regardless of how large or small the object is, the ones that handle it and build it will just, they'll put in what they're supposed to put in and ignore the rest. And yeah, then we'll most likely, because we're going to have an array. Currently, very first damage was just to float like a hard number. Then I realized, well, we're having an elemental system. What if we have then we'll have different elemental attacks, doing different elemental damage, different enemies with different elemental resistances and weaknesses. So the damage has to be an array of all the elements and how much of this and how much of that. And I'm like, all right, cool. I can work with this. Which means the attack generation will have its own like no, that's about the generation part. Now we're reverse engineering from the final product to how do we get there. So what does the final product look like? Now if we're looking here at what we're currently using, yeah, we can have string for the name of the animation. That's fine. We can always change that later for more once we start working more with the animation. But a string for just naming it will work, because an animation sprite 2D node can contain multiple animations. Like these just happen to be the same ones in different colors, but they could be far more complex. We just name them here. When we create the attack, we know what its animation will be called. Where do we use that one? Absolutely more than enough for now. For animation information, what else would one need? I don't think... Would we need facing? Again, that is stuff we can add later once we build. Start worrying about animation information. Just make sure we have a space for that one. I remember, hearing talks about stuff and design, and one of the good ones was just, it's always good to have too much information than too little, because it's easier to later cut out stuff that wasn't used and find a way to add in stuff it turns out you actually needed. Like for example, for your having like a health bar in the game, you don't only want current health. You kind of want previous health as well, because you need that for the animations of a health bar. Unless you want the animation of your health bar to go like instantly teleport, like pop, 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 goes down, goes up. No, you want it to flow. And to do that, usually animators aren't allowed to add in a whole bunch of information. They need to do what they can with the existing information. And if you want it to flow from point A to point B, you have to remember what the previous state was, so you can have an animation between previous state and current state. So then you have an animation like a health bar that actually flows a bit smoother. So that kind of stuff is because I don't even know what I do or don't need yet. And as such, I overthink, get lost in the weeds. Yeah. So yeah, here we have the type, currently just an int. We'll do hashtag to do sort types as enums question mark. I think I pretty much agreed to that one already in my head, just because it'll be easier to have them just in integers rather than strings, because I don't like using too many strings to name things, because I misspell things and I hate it for like a misspelling to cause an error. Whereas if we use enums, it's fine because the engine will recognize, oh, you're trying to say this, autocorrect it for me, and under the hood, it's all just integers, it's just numbers. So it's a-okay. We can even do binary shit with that. Flippity floppy of the binary bit magic. But okay, let's do this. Back here. Back to the conceptual before I lose myself in that stuff. So, what if we make an attack resource, an attack class? That way we can just do attack new. We define its init function, because there's an inbuilt function system for what happens when you do new, when it creates a new one. Default for that one, it doesn't do anything, but we can then define input values. So it requires certain input values upon creation to calculate stuff like what is our attack and so on, what is the damage value, so on. So we'll figure that out when we get there. But now let's build a attack class, so we can always just, when necessary, do like attack.new kind of thing. An attack class. And especially because then we can add more attack classes, which can then be predefined like, like beam attack new kind of thing. So this would be like base attack class actually. So we'll do a undo's. We'll do a base attack class. And here we'll define what kind of information does an attack need. When an attack is launched, does it care about who sent it? No, it cares about who is it hitting. So viable targets. We need to define those somehow. For that, we can use, like we use in the simple example of the current attack, where just like if body equals is in group enemy, so we can just use groups. That'll be fine. And viable target, because I want I want friendly fire to be an option. Possibility, maybe even a difficulty option. We can have an easier difficulty where you can't kill yourself with your own explosions kind of thing. That'll be fine. Good for accessibility and all that. And also, a fun and interesting just design challenge. Try to remember to have the option to make it really fucking difficult for the people who like it that way, and nice and easy for those who just want to chillax and have a power fantasy and just enjoy the engineering aspect. So we need viable targets, because the attack itself... well, I just said it previously, I want them to have a name. So we do name of who attacked how, pretty much. It's all I care about. Maybe why, we'll see about that. But the point this is more for debugging purposes. It'll be just handy to have this sort of information written there, so that if something's behaving weirdly, some attack is doing something weird, we can see who launched that attack and what is that attack like trying to be. Like player bolt kind of thing, or enemy beam, level like step 2 explosion, all that kind of stuff. That name is good for that information. Just have it visually very quickly clear, rather than having like area 2D 235 hash, $B7. And it's like, all right, now I'm gonna go through a list and compare which one was that. Oh, there it is, and so on. Whereas where it's visually, human languagely clear, like who done it. Then we quickly walk through that logic path of how did we end up here. Now the attack will always need an animation. So do that one. Animation name. The base attack class will need type information, but do we store it here or somewhere else? Well, okay. No matter how we do it, we'll always need that type information of what is it. So we'll do a... needs to have a type. If it's bolt, so on. In that class, because the class doesn't give a shit about what it looks like on the like game's level itself. And that we need the type information for the global that then creates the sort of like in-game sort of physical object of the area object of the attack. And the good part is because if you have all this information here, we can then keep on like making all kinds of changes to the actual sort of attack scene, the node itself, and it won't affect this. Again, the magic of compartmentalization, when things are like properly in their own place. I'm very glad that very early in my learning journey into coding, from a far more experienced friend of mine who has been in the industry for years, gave very good advice. Like, whatever you're doing, try to make sure every function is one thing. It's better to have 50 simple functions working together than one large one, or a couple of chunky ones. That has helped me so much in my design philosophy and like just debugging in general, because when you have like one big function that does all kind of stuff, trying to figure out who does something weird and why, it gets tricky. Plus, because then you can sort of cheat the logic that way and hard code stuff without really realizing it. Whereas if everything is individual functions, then you have to really think about the logical flow of where does this information come from, where does this go, do we really need this, and so on. And then, making changes in one point won't affect the others. Also, I was about to say, also very good for testing, and then I realized, oh yeah, and he is a professional tester of extremely expensive, extremely important tools, technology, sensors, and that kind of stuff. I love those, industrial coding. That was sort of where I wanted to go into when I learned coding. And here I am doing this instead. Whoops. We have viable targets. We have name of like who attacked how. The animation information, the type information of. Well, this should be clear, but never trust it. Bolt. Beam. Etc. Now the damage information will be fun one here. So damage, which will have to be an elemental array. Not an array though. Well, effectively what we need this to be is a freaking struct, but structs don't exist here, but I'm going to name it struct because it makes sense for me as a structure, a C thing, which eventually turns into things like classes and whatnot in C++ and so on. Because we need just a predefined structure, then we'll always have things in a certain order, and this way it'll be handy because, again, if they have the element list of all the elements and all the damages, but that is its own separate class, we can just say here, damage, well, create one of those, something changes the values there. And then later on, we can change how does elements work in the game, and all of these will still work because they're just expecting one of these class items in here. So then we have the damage. Now, to help, then we have the animation, which we probably should move from there, but that's fine. Now, viable targets, who attacked how, animation name, type, bolt beam, etc., damage of the elemental struct, do these need a link to the global? No. So what they will then have is speed, size, which will mean different things depending on the type. Like a bolt, well, it'll be the bigness. How big is the bolt? Size for a beam. Oh, we need length and we need girth. It is a girthy beam. A short and chunky one. A little chode beam or a nice thin long one. If we make the base class, then we can overwrite for the beam that size is changed from 1 to 2 values, pretty much it's vector 2 or something. Who knows, maybe it'll be a vector 2 to begin with. But for now though, speed would be float. Size for your basic is a float slash v2 question mark. Close enough. We might want information for like the animation. Like, does the animation need to know how fast we are? Do we need to be like change the FPS on that one? Like if it's nice and big and slow, and then it's a slower animation, but if it's a faster bolt, it goes even faster. We can still use this basic speed information here. Your basic bolt will use pretty much just this information as far as I can tell, but with this being a base class, I know they will all need this. And then later on, hopefully we'll add more complexity. Even if our bolt class would just be with like 0 overrides, it'll still work, because then we can just create me a bolt class and it'll just, I don't know, name things slightly differently. And using the who attacked how. Now this one might be moved to the node itself, like when we create the node away from here. But for now, it can hang out there. And I think we have that one pretty well figured out. So we're gonna go into resources. Or do we? Yeah. Let's try to be somewhat logical. We create new script. Cancel. That's very true. It goes actually into our attacks. We do new script. Inherits resource. Template object empty. Built in. Oh yeah, we can save our freaking templates and shit. I really should get into that at some point. And from a new script, we change this over to base. How am I naming these? And I need to rename some of those files. Okay, we'll do attack base class, base attack class, attack. Yeah, we'll do attack underscore base underscore class. Create. Open, and we double click. Extends resource class name. Can't write for shit. Class name. Attack base. So do more animation. All right, this one goes away. We're not gonna draw anymore. No more handwriting. Ritzgard joins the party. And there we go. And we shall simply call you the animation underscore name is, we'll define that as a string, and it starts out as empty. Then we'll do... valid targets. We'll leave that as a string for now. Good morning there, puppy. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Nice seeing you around. I hope you have a lovely day indeed. Oh yeah, you've been playing a lot of Necess lately. I've been meaning to get into that one. I bought it a while ago after the 1.0 came out. And I think I've had a grand total of 2 minutes of trying to play it. If you have the time, of course. I do know you're busy, you know, it's a weekday. You got actual work. But it does seem like a fun game. Maybe we'll play that today. I still don't know what we're playing today. I had fun with My Winter Car yesterday, but the problem is it pretty much, very much like triggered my seasonal depression problems. Because it's, you know, it's cold and dark outside enough, and then it got like double that. I kind of have to play it occasionally because Casual Story doesn't behave. Yeah, I noticed you... Sorry. Yeah, you seem to have a lot of odd like connection issues with there. I'm in me undies. Ooh. Well, hello there, puppy. Hope they're comfortable undies. 20 streams. 20 stream streak. Holy butt nuggets. Thank you, puppy. I do appreciate it. On the internet, no one can prove that you're wearing pants. Looks to have something to do with the routing from Germany to US East. Yeah. I mean that's what I mean. But it's interesting that you're having it because I was thinking that
in a child's vows, I am tired, Grandpa. In old man's voice. Well, that's too damn bad.
Tired, Grandpa. No man, that's too damn bad. Oh no, Reaper. Hope you're doing well, and that one was pretty loud. Let's see. Let's do this. You are this one. What? Oh wait, no, you're coming through. I'm gonna put down speaker bot a little. That was very loud. There we go. But yeah, the German to USE is because, you know, I mean, Finland, and I don't seem to have the same sort of lag issues. So I'm wondering if we're going through different cables. Because I don't know, is there like a northern cable? I thought there was only one underground, like, undersea cable connecting the continents. Also, if I'm not wearing pants, people might catch on at the moment. Not sure, I think so. Greetings. That is very true. You see, yeah, you step too far away from the camera. You see, I'm here standing. No one knows what's happening down here. Am I actually wearing pants? I'll never tell. Unless you give me exorbitant amounts of money. And as soon as I go through a VPN or to NYC, the connection is as fast and stable as always. But of course, I can't stream when I'm bouncing my connection to NYC and back. So it is it's a strange local thing then, eh? So there's something happening on the German end. If the VPN... Wait. Alright, okay. Well, US East Germany apparently then has some kind of disagreement on whether or not what kind of information should be, you know, what's the word? Sort of choked? Some disagreements. And I'm actually so tired, man. I pushed hard as hell. I'm gonna have to take it easy today. Yeah, I noticed. You've been doing like some long streams again. Just take it easy. You're doing your streamathon, subathon. You've been doing crazy hours. It's okay to take it easy. You don't have to push yourself too much. And also, sometimes you do have to push yourself to go to sleep. I know that for a fact from my own self, and I'm pretty sure you might have the same issue. And it's a new internet tariff, so I tell you. Well, could be. But then again, I'm in Finland, and I don't have those issues. So I don't know, because I have never had any rubber banding on the Casual Story at any point. Yeah, because I'm like, my sleep schedule is okay only and only because of the missus. I know this for a fact, because as soon as she leaves, like she did last weekend, to like, visit family, my sleep schedule goes to hell, like, instantly. So, yeah. Having having your sleep schedules tied to someone else helps a lot. We don't always have that, and then, well, it's unfortunately more up to you, I guess. There are no tariffs on internet traffic, brother, that Trump hasn't touched yet. Yeah? I mean, he could try. And it's been the Java? No. No, Reaper, no. As far as I know, no, they did not. They did not do that mistake. I think it might even be C#. Fuck do I know? But yeah, they might be trying to put in some tariffs. Who the heck knows, man? I have decided to stop following news. But then again, I did that decision years ago, and to this day, I do not. I regret nothing. I deal with my depression and other anxiety problems enough. I do my part. I vote. If there's anything really big that happens in the world, I've noticed, I will find out. So, reading all the news about the horrors in the world that I can do zero to affect, except worry about, well, I'd rather not. So, I'm going to focus on this. Hanging out with my homies, hanging out with chat, playing games, making games, and trying to just do the best I can, pretty much. And me as a C# or C++. Yeah, puppy, that's what I thought as well. Sorry. None of me exists in our own bubble, and if it matters, I will pierce my bubble, then it might matter. Yeah, and soon capitalism will come for our gigabytes. I mean, yeah, I mean, capitalism gave you your gigabytes, to be honest. It's not capitalism that's the problem, it's the cronyism. It's the corruption, that's the bad part. They're corrupting our capitalism. Pure capitalism is a wonderful thing. The best product and the best service should bubble and win in a truly competitive environment. And with cronyism and corruption, that is when you use, laws and rules to make sure that, competition gets skewed and illegal and difficult and so on. And then it's no longer the best one. So yeah, that's why I always find it weird when people keep on attacking capitalism. It's like, do you even know the core concepts there? It's like communism, wonderful idea. It won't work. Because it relies too much on a truly benevolent human leaderships, and the kind of humans who achieve that kind of level of absolute rule are, by definition, not, well, benevolent. Or if they are, well, then they'll be ousted by someone who's not benevolent eventually. So that is the problem in communism, essentially, at its core. That's why I like our capitalist, socialist combinations that we have here in Europe. They work pretty well. It's not far from perfect. There is no perfect system. But, yeah. And of course, it is what I'm used to, so that's why I like it. And, how's Lore in Eclipse happening in your bubble? I went to my friendly local game store yesterday and reenacted the JonTron meme, "I'll take your whole stock." Ooh. Cool. Our firm's government are flawed due to human corruption. Yeah. And it's human nature. I mean, just because, there's also like unconscious corruption that will happen because we favor our friends, we favor our family, we favor our in-group, be it, family, friends, related, whatever it is. We do it even when we mean the best. So that is why, yeah, humans are bad at being truly fair. So yeah, not all corruption is bad people doing bad things. Often, and I would argue the largest part of the sort of mundane knowing corruption in all of our systems is just people being people. I know pre-ordered. Ooh, no. Both Commander precons, both 60 card precons, a starter bundle, a pre-release bundle, a play booster box, and from eBay I pre-ordered a collector booster box. Oh, puppy, you totally don't have a problem. Well, I used to play Warhammer 40k, so what can I say? At least I got out of it. Sometimes I used to lit you for that good old sweet plastic crack. Painting those minis, playing the games. Good times. And looking out for it, I'll check my wall, might fucking see it. They can cop a few, but pretty sure it won't happen for him, man. There's no way to get rid of corruption. If you really want AI running our society and stocking up I'll buy me 1 or 2 packs. And there's some problem as long as they are cards, mom. Nice. That's very true. And I don't have a problem. The problems start when you run out. It's true. That is how it works. It's just like falling, you know. Falling has never killed anyone. It's the sudden stop that does it. Now, yeah, do you really want AI running our society? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Not GPT though. That thing hallucinates and it's insane. I would like society to be run by one Excel sheet that everyone can like double check to make sure it's real. You know, I would like the math to actually matter. I do believe the large amount of management in many places could not only be replaced by AI, but a surprisingly large amount could be replaced by a simple Excel sheet of just comparing numbers. Is the number positive? Then yes. Is the number negative? Then no. Congratulations, you have saved thousands of work hours, hundreds of thousands of wages, and many, many meetings that no one needed to go to. Boom. Guns never killed anyone, but bullets are fucking psychopaths. Absolutely, Reaper. Yes, that is true. Wait. No. Sadly, we have pistol whipping and stuff, so people have been clubbed to death with the gun as well. But then again, the guns are up there with rolling pins. Dangerous. Satire. Well, Reaper, in case you didn't notice, that is, yes, we do hear a lot. Yeah, I get it. The ripping packs is fun, but ripping play boosters is kind of weird unless you play draft. Still get why Wizards changed draft boosters into play boosters, putting more expensive cards into a product that's supposed to be played. It's in the name. Well, whenever I see people play Magic the Gathering now, and I check out Puppy's stream and he's talking about his cards and all these terms and things that I have no idea what the fuck's going on, I do realize the game has changed quite a lot since I last played, like properly, which was... But how old am I? 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I played Magic the Gathering. Sort of. No, not in any... the level people play that shit nowadays, but like just there were people who had Magic the Gathering cards, we bought their packs, we had a few decks, we played some Magic the Gathering, just among friends. "21 years ago, I think. Wait, no. 20. Most of that happened like 20. Jesus Christ. Yeah, 22 years ago, I think. 22, 21, but at the latest 20 years ago. Then I pretty much stopped because I started hanging out with different kind of people. I moved. So the people who played Magic weren't that close to me anymore. And also then I was more into as the locals like to say, drinking and whoring around pretty much. So I had other priorities. We don't really have any MTG scene unless I go into an hour from my house. Yeah, that used to be like the minimum. It took me like a couple of hours to get anywhere. I grew up in the country. Well, no. It's technically inside the city's area, but it's in a valley and covered in forest, and it had no good public transport anywhere nearby where I grew up. Maybe one day I'll get into the physical more when I live in an area I can play, but until then I'll have to do the arena. Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that arena exists now. It makes it much more accessible as a hobby because you can still play the game, you can still play the rules. That's all it needs. Physical has its own charm, but that was that. And so it's more to play. We can open 3 play boosters, and you then build a 40-card deck That's what draft/play boosters were originally intended for. A while back, Wizards changed the draft boosters and increased their price with the justification of there are now collector cards in there, which are, by the way, not playable in draft. Oh, wait, what? So now we have this special like draft deck, and this way of playing, like you always have a mystery deck built from these packs, and then you open it up. You don't even look at what's inside. You pull a card, and then it's like, I can't play this. Oh, sorry, I'm terribly sorry. I apparently pulled an illegal card. Let me put this to the side or something. And then pull another one, and now I have a smaller deck than I thought. That's just bullshit. That makes no heckin' sense. But then again, I'd say the management of the Wizards of the Coast has gone the same way as Unity's management for a long time ago, where they kind of severely misunderstood what they're selling. And it's all about min-maxing profit. There's still wonderful people in both companies doing great work. Both products are good. Magic the Gathering, fun hobby, interesting cards, cool collectibles. Unity, wonderful engine, done by wonderful people. It is, I'm pretty sure, upper management having interesting ideas about how to make their number go up. And pushing that through. I'm also a isolationist sometimes, so going outside from my social circles is way scarier than making friends through Twitch. But one day when I get over these issues, the world is done for. Bum bum bum. Be prepared. You're gonna get reaped. Oh yeah, no. We've written down 2 things. What were they? Viable targets, name, animation name, type, and damage. We have valid targets as a... Say I'm gonna mark it out just as a string for now. Then we had our damage, which we'll cast as a elemental power resource. Technically, I probably shouldn't put anything inside any single variable, but that's fine. We'll figure it out. And then we had our type to declare that as an integer, because we're gonna make a to-do and then a define the types as enums. Though for now, a string can hold it. We're getting into the whole enum business once this, works. So your attack, oh, that's wrong. There we go. Proper capitalization. Attack base. The string and the damage with an elemental power resource. Then we'll have our speed, which we know it will be a float. Speed. And then we'll have a variable for size, which it can also start as a float. A stretch.
Looking a little dry there.
And a hydrate as well. Fine, thank you. The coffee's gone. So we'll switch over to the tea. Thank you for the hydrate. I gotta change those redeem thingies. I've been thinking it'd be interesting to put how multiple points where it can spawn in and then always randomly choose one, and that's where we get multiples pop up at the same time. So thanks for the hydrate. Let's do the stretch. Shoulders first. Oh. fix mine and customize them more after years of being broken and not knowing why. Oh! Nice. Yeah, I'm using just the Twitch ones from their site. Good old Twitch alerts. Now they work for the most part. But I was thinking if I have these, I can make ones that work with. Now I'll do it again. The streamer bot, because it's running everything else. So I was thinking we could do that too. But then I'd have to, find the time, do some art, figure out what happens when you do the redeem. What pops up into existence? Everyone else has these neat little animations. Oh. Yeah, it's music. Oh. We do spins. Ooh. Hips facing forward. Use my arms to make sure my shoulders twist properly, so I'm not like bending my arms, shoulders, but in fact twisting the core. Alright, one more. Ah, there we go. We built the same one for up. Oh boy. Hey, nice. Yeah. And the curling there. Keep up waking up 2 a.m. Well, I don't know what your daily schedule is, but looking at your reaction, I'm assuming it's a less one. It's a lesser one. Captions now? I always have captions. Just press C on Twitch, and you'll have them there or not. Caption isn't the best though. Even down that if you can. Ooh. There we go. And then one more time. Wow, there we go. Back for the stretch. Excellent way to start the day. But yeah, I have a caption thing plugin that I got from somewhere. That I got from Walmart. No. Every now and then I look at these captions that this add-on is singing is reading from me, and I realize my pronunciation is not the best because it keeps on getting interestingly confused. Okay, so back to looking at. Okay, so what the heck was I doing here? Maybe it's better if I put this to the side for a little bit. How just smaller. So for the base attack class, we need the viable targets. We have a name for who attacked how, which we probably don't actually want here, but in the attack node itself. Big finish at it. Okei, mä aina yrittää puhua vähän suomea sille, mutta ei tää oikein ymmärrä mistään mitään. Mulla on nyt tuo captionsit tossa, niin lopetti kokonaan toimimiseen. Ei ne oikein mitään tee. Did not understand anything of what I said. At least it looks like that for me. Got nothing. Yeah, we have the speed and size, which we will need for depending. We figure how fast it is and how big of an area it has. It might have to be a vector too, but that might be better to just overwrite and change depending on different different classes who have like beams and AoEs and whatnot. British closed captions said, "I know I give," and that's it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they get the closed captions from the OBS. And here I have a, like I said, a plugin that is trying to understand what the frick I'm saying. I don't know. I should probably look into a better one at some point. But, it's free. It kind of works. Better than nothing, I hope. But now that I'm looking at it, and some of those confusions it sometimes gets, well, if nothing else, they have comedic value as well. I love English closed captions, failing to understand other languages. Well, yeah, but it makes sense, being English closed captions and all. But yeah, that's why I was so excited when I found the Finnish speaking TTS, by the way, when I got my TTS things, because I'm like, ooh, finally, someone made something that can digitally speak my native language. Usually they don't, because it's such a different language. Who attack now? I think I'm going to put this thing in the node rather than the attack base. The animation name, we have the type defined there. The elemental struct for the damage. I was thinking, is there anything else that the attack would need to... Oh, what are we doing there? Save the changes, thank you. Yes, we will have to have a friend for our damage here. Would be a variable for effects. Which it's an array of strings, because we need to then be able to convey information like, does it have a stun effect, or like a shock or whatever? Does it make things catch fire? Low-key Lunchable stays so good. Quite possible. I don't think I've ever had a Lunchable. I mean, they also taste kind of awful. That's kind of like all American food. At the moment. Especially food that has any nostalgic value, even if it's not the best. The nostalgia will always give it that extra spice. Make it taste just that much extra nice. Oh, right. We need the... I love the fact you write to do, and it changes the color on it. So, figure out how to carry effect information. Target. Drag it. I mean, obviously we can do it inside this thing, because this will be then a attack base carried over in the attack node to destination. The source used to have more of a kick to it. Yeah, sadly that is the true with nostalgia foods here as well. They're not the same because, well, they can't be, because number must go up. And if there exists a cheaper way to do it, it is being, and it's already in use, or they're trying to like change production into that, which is kind of tragic. Because so much I feel like in various industries, from service, food, product, game, entertainment, whatever. In so many places, it is very clear that the motivation of management has changed from making the best product to making the best profit. Quality is secondary to perceived profits, not actual, perceived. Because the story is more important than the fact, because the story is what in the end affects stock prices. Even more than any reality. I think this one now currently has everything we would need. So if we fill this thing up with the necessary information, we give this to the attack manager, and it should be able to create an attack using this one. Combined, of course, with the transforming information with for location and direction, which we will get from the whoever launches the attack. So when you launch an attack, the entity requests the attack base, the attack information from the magic circle in question. Copy of it, if we can. I probably will have to make sure that happens. And the attack manager reads this, creates the scene. Hey there, Goko. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a lovely day, my friend. And most food changes because of A, cheapening of product. B, they can't use the same chemicals as they used to because we now know they cause cancer or something. That is very true, yeah. And also just general availability. It could be it's not a question of cheapening the product or like trying to make it cheaper, but just because maintaining the old one would have made it more expensive because something that used to be abundant is now scarce. Or something has gone extinct. Like with the banana. Which is why banana candies do not taste like banana, because the banana flavoring agent is based on how all bananas used to taste, because all bananas are clones of each other. Because someone had the bright idea of, you know what? How about we go beyond a mere monoculture? How about we just clone the same plant everywhere? So we make sure every banana everywhere tastes the same. And it worked. Until there was an unfortunate sickness. I do believe it was a fungal one, which and then ended up eradicating all of them, because it turned out that banana would then have both a certain fungus developed like a taste for that specific tree, so all of its clones, and it died out. And now there's a different banana being cloned everywhere. Yeah. I wonder how the Finnish TTS speak Spanish. You can try. Because those are the Google TTS, the Google Cloud TTSs, and they're surprisingly good at trying to interpret other languages. The Finnish one is fun because it just adds that Finnish accent to everything, which also is something I quite enjoy. I find it funny. Now.
Gatito de macho grande. Gatito de macho grande es muy bien.
Yeah. Spoken very Finnishly, not very Spanishly. Pretty good, yeah. They are pretty good, the TTSs there. Now let's see here. It sounds like if you were female and said that. Gatito de mucho grande. Gatito de mucho grande es muy bien. Maybe. Sounds about the same, just much deeper. Exactly. Absolutely identical. My accent is insanely thick, isn't it? Yeah, I've been staring at this for a while now, and I think the next step would be main function. We're filling this one up. So if we make a new init, there we go. Make it pass for now. And in this one, so when you create a new attack base class, what do we have to have in there? Det behövs där. Well, no idea. And I came to the conclusion that, you know what, we're going to add these. We're not going to make anything empty, because to figure out a proper state for what the init would do, I'll have to figure out what the fuck this thing does. So make sure everything contains something.
Ik probeer eenvins stem Nederlands te laten spreken. Eens kijken hoe dat uitpakt.
Ik probeer eenvins als stem Nederlands te laten spreken. Eens kijken hoe dat uitpakt. Well, sounds Dutch. The hint is in the Netherlands. Yeah, we'll have to work on this one. Yeah, there's Gatito. I'm trying to make a Finnish AI voice speak Dutch. Let's see how that goes. Well, it went pretty well. I think. I can't really judge it. I don't really have much experience with Dutch at all. Oh wait, no, yeah, they do the throaty sound. Ik probeer een Finse stem Nederlands te laten spreken. En ze kijken hoe dat uitpakt. That went terribly, Bao. Yeah, I assumed as much, because Finnish, you very much vocalize every letter, every sound. Whereas many of the European languages do where it just like mangled sounds together deep inside your throat. I was speaking. Madness. Who knows how it's happening? But okay, we have an attack base. We'll just save this one. I got brain no work here today apparently, but it's okay. We're still making progress. We have designed things. We know how the progress should work. So now we'll have a look at this here circle base. Or that circle jerk, I mean. Burgle. But Dutch pronunciation is very weird. Yes. I imagine it would be. It's a bit like Danish. Like all the other Scandinavian languages, well, maybe Icelandic, they're very similar. But if you start from the northern tip of Norway, it's very sort of clear how you pronounce things, how you say things. Very, I can sort of. It's hard. I have. It's easier for me to speak with a Norwegian and understand what they're saying, even though I'm speaking a different language, than read it because it's written so differently. But then the further south you go, then you go to like northern Sweden, also very sort of clear pronunciation. Then you go further south, and both languages become increasingly sing-songy. And then you start making weird throat noises, and suddenly you're in Denmark, and no one understands what you're saying. Because Danish is spoken like you have a hot potato in your mouth at all times. But Dutch pronunciation is very weird. For example, the N ending is half silent. Spreken is pronounced spreke. Ah, yes, good old silent letters. Another victory point for Finnish. There's no silent letters. If it's there, you vocalize it. If it's not there, you don't. Alright. Now let's walk through the logic here again, I guess. So now we do the activate circle. So now the circle is no longer being quite as hands-off as it has been so far. We can still use the elemental power resource thing here to figure out what the friggity frack's going on. But for example, the attack generating one can't be. Yeah, the projection one can't. It needs to have an output. Okay, yeah. So the runes can no longer be so blindly in any slots. Now it matters which one is where, because depending on the type of the rune, we will be interacting with it in a different way. Like if we realize, this is a projection rune, so it will give us a shape of an attack. Then the Alright, we have to jump back to Krita now. I need to visualize. What? There you go. Oh, yeah, Bastion. Okay. So let's visualize this. We have the sort of runic circle. The circle itself has, yes, the UI stuff. We'll figure that out then. For the logic here, we start with our first one. What do? We check what is its type. Now we find no, the player must be allowed to build it wrong. Yeah, I think I'll go easy and chill for the first few hours today before I get back at it. Hey, take it easy, Reaper. Take care of yourself. You need your rest. It is a subtle yet dramatic effect on you, on your life and mental well-being, whether or not you're getting enough rest and enough good sleep. Better to have too much sleep than not enough. Always. No such thing as too much sleep. Appreciate all you me, and we appreciate you, Reap. Take it easy. Take care of yourself. Now, let's see here. So, like I said, behind the scenes, that is actually an array. So it is the array of runes where we have we don't know how, depending on the side of the thing. So we go through every rune in order for now. Part of me wants to figure out, maybe I should just make these things be linked lists. And maybe we will. But for now, we'll just build it like this. So we have the array of runes. So the very first one, and now we need to do is... So step 1 is check type. What kind of rune is there? Depending on the rune type, we can do things, including adding visual elements to, power sources get a green outline, filters get a blue outline, attacks get a red outline. See, boom. So we have a visual representation. Because we can get that information from the rune now. Step 2. Is do appropriate function. No. No. We're not doing that at all. At this point. Okay, now at this point, it's there. First thing we do is just check the type. Oh, wait, no. Yes, exactly, yeah. I was thinking in what steps do we do everything. So first, we then activate the runes and we get the output. Activate rune. And save output so we don't have to do this again. Now, this is all part of the appropriately called function. Do the math. We need to detect if there's an empty spot in the array, and then just skip it, mark it as empty. Then inside check type, we'll then have, get. Yeah, we can add stuff to check type where it gets the necessary UI info and whatnot, so that'll be fine. Or gives a reference to current rune to whatever node does the UI eventually. We're getting info from it. And depending on the type, we activate the rune. Now, I like the fact that we can have activate rune pretty much be the sort of same name of the function. So no matter which rune is there, we always call the same function, and then does shit appropriately. And I guess we could still do that. We just need to figure out what is, again, the spell state that we're giving to each rune and letting them adjust in order. And previously we just had pretty much the power of the elemental array. Now we had first list of unfiltered shit. Then we added the filtered one. Then we were generating the attack, deleting the unfiltered, the filtered one, and then the unfiltered was used to generate our cooldown. Now, if we want to do this all just once, so I guess we'll just have to have the unfiltered and or just raw inputs, just marked as is. Because the thing is, if we have a different sort of power input that is pre-filtered, which is what I was hoping for in the future, then you can skip the entire filtration step. But then you have to have ammo, an external power source. Okay, now if we do that, then these make no sense. Because we're assuming it can get filtered, but doesn't have to get filtered. So in other words, do we actually need a waste basket kind of thing? Do we have a place for waste, or do we have a place for something else? Because even our even the ammo wouldn't be perfect 100% unless happen to be. Would that then, as an input, if it doesn't do a filtration, would automatically put some stuff inside the waste for calculating the cooldown? That could work. Eres mucho asombroso. Mucho, muy asombroso. Grande hombre de mucho asombroso. Asombroso. Or something. I don't know. It's like Spanish. Well, you know more than me. All I know is ¿Por qué, Maria? ¿Por qué? That's all. Pointless drama. In the end, now that I'm thinking about it, I got to mull it in my head a little bit. So currently I was building so that then we have filtered information, and it as its whole was used to generate the attack. But if we want a system where we can also skip having a filtration rune, and you just have an input that will be sort of magically filled with correct pre-filtered ammo effectively, rather than ambient nonsense. It should still have some waste, determined by the purity of the ammo and whatnot, so we can then create that at power generation. Or we have a filter that is essentially a kind of pre-filter. Then the attack generation would also filter out what it can to generate the attack, and the rest goes to waste. I was thinking about I want them to be inefficient filtration systems, so that if the attack has any, say, any imbalance, first we start with our perfectly balanced for elements, the way it goes through a filter to a little bit of the others. Then the final attack, essentially these eat out from this one, so we're left with, you know, this much to make the attack. And this one becomes the waste. And this way we created an attack, then, you know, with a better filtration thing, eventually you'll have a sort of pure, like, you know, there's nothing, which means you have a much larger amount that goes into the actual attack and a smaller waste, potentially. And pre-filtering will also then add stuff to the waste, which will be used for the cooldown. And once something being filtered into the waste, it can be filtered again. Yeah. Okay. And like I said, we can always then add complexity to this, more complexity later, because it will, you know, we'll try to build everything as modular as possible here. So instead of having filtered and unfiltered, we'll have, I don't know, raw and waste. Because turning the raw into actual power, that is in the actual projection part. So certain power sources will already come with like pre-made waste. Actually, no, yeah, that'll handy, because then we can always add to the waste from other things to make sure you don't ever end up with like a negative cooldown. So there will always be wastes. And the question is just how much extra waste do you add to it for the cooldown? So, you know, a better filter will still make more waste, for example, but at least we can make a bigger boom. And especially if you use an ammo and you like pre-filter that one, then it might be even less waste there, which means you have even less cooldown. Well, that is stuff we need to like balance and figure out at a later point in time. But I guess this is the mental struggle point for me. Has been currently like, how do I turn this theoretical power into an attack and some kind of cooldown system? So because I want the efficiency of your structure to affect it. So currently we could just call it waste. We can change it later. We can add more things that affect it. But my God, I need to like slowly but surely try to build some form of this system that actually works. It's been weeks. No. Hasn't been that long. But still. Okay. Yeah. So we'll have raw and waste. And we build these into the sort of spell structure, which would then also be looking at having other modifiers like the, you know, do you have a multiplier for speed, multiplier for something else? Because we want to add them multiple runes. Some of them that purely modify the eventual spell, you know, adds cooldown, adds waste, but it makes the eventual attack faster. That kind of stuff. Or like a rune in between, which does nothing else but eats up a rune slot, but it burns through waste, which means eventually you'll end up with less cooldown, so it's more like a rapid fire kind of thing. Essentially like a, you know, cooling array kind of thing. And maybe later circles themselves will just have a modifier on final waste value, which cuts it down because it's built for like more conductive materials, or in the earlier ones they have a, well, they increase your cooldown because it's, you know, they don't have the best like magical kind of conductivity, so then the materials and design of the circle itself affects the final. Oh yeah, okay, I'm seeing it. And this was the original idea. The naming things is important. It'll affect how you think about stuff. Which means now we need to figure out then a proper magic structure here. The elemental power resource is something we're gonna have to, if nothing else, rename, because the name's too long and it is confusing. And the attack is something that this thing uses the sort of spell structure to then generate. The spell structure, the way eventually the attack information that it sends forward doesn't care about the modifiers. The modifiers are calculated in the circle base when we do the good old, now do the math. And when it runs once through everything it has, and then we'll save the final attack in a variable. Do more. Final attack. Type. Attack base. Func get attack. Return final attack. So yeah, then the owner of the circle base calls for get attack to get the attack information and gives that together with its own aiming information, being the transform 2D, over to the attack manager, and using those two bits of information, it can then generate the attack node, the attack scene in our current scene, and have it aimed correctly and moving at the desired speed and having the correct animation and all that information, all that good stuff. So, how would that work? Like, where do we store the waste? How do we store the waste? When do we store the waste? Alright. Okay. Step 1. Get type. I was here wondering, like, do we care about the amount of stuff going into waste? Should we store that, or should waste be just an, like, it should be an elemental power array kind of thing? Then we ask all the stuff that we put there, or just a number? I think we should probably store what all we put there, because it could be handy for the player in the UI to see the balances. Now, we can always simplify it later. So the final attack is an attack base. Spell set that we're sending back and forth is just an array of the elemental power resource. Now, what if we change that to a dictionary? Where we have the attack, the final attack that was sent in, and or the waste, which would be a separate elemental power resource. Wait, I keep on forgetting I can just do this. Womp. Hey, I said womp. Failed me again. Why do I keep on forgetting how to do these things? There we go. Comment that one out. And I'm going to change you from an array to a dictionary. Now within you, we have first, attack and attack base, waste, which is a elemental power resource. Okay. The spell state is not really used anywhere outside of the circle itself, so yeah, we can have this defined in here, it'll be just fine. When we activate circle, we don't. Instead, we'll do func for check circle, which makes sense to me. Then it only looks what's inside, does the math, returns a attack base, turn final attack. First thing we do is create wobbly sounds. Func underscore new spell state. That's for call. We do spell state. Spell state attack has the value of attack base new. Spell state come on. Waste has the value of a mental power resource new. There we go. So now we define these. So now if we change how this thing is built, we can just change it in here whenever we want to, you know, get a nice fresh one. Well, we do a underscore calling a new spell state. Do believe we have the. Did you have like just a quick little like clear? Removes the dictionary entry by key if it exists to blah blah blah. Well, it'll be fine. So, whenever we check circle, we run through what do we got, and we save that inside final attack. And we do that by you know what? How about you don't actually return anything? Turn a bowl. This is check circle, so we also want to have a failure state. Spell state. Attack. Safety on the side, final attack. Now, you can then do, 4 rune in rune containers. Rune dot activate rune spell state. You can save that one. We'll change how the runes work, just like how they save things. So we were dealing with like an array of shit, but yeah, using a dictionary here will be clearer in the end. We might not even need this one. We just, because everything should be saved in here. Now I need to have a little break. Put the wacom away. And desperately need to go to the loo. And once we come back, guess we'll either work on this or try to figure out what exactly are we playing today. Alright, that'll be then. Right now, I gotta go. See you soon. Well, hello. I've returned and we got a heckin' raid. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome in, Goth. How you doing? I see you, right? Welcome in, Raiders. How did the Outlast trials go? Oh, we had a good time. It was wild and fun to see Boom and Goth play that funny game. I've said it before, and I said it again. It is a delight to watch. You have your adventures. Oh, man. Might not be the kind of game for me to play, but it is definitely a fun game to watch. And welcome in, Raiders. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Hannu, son of Hannu, variety streamer, and as you can see around right now, an extremely amateur game developer. Started a long-term project this year, so that'll be fun. Here you go. And we're trying to make a sort of make your own spell-based sort of Vampire Survivors-like top-down shooty game. Inspired a bit like say like Noita meets Vampire Survivors-ish, or like more maybe a little closer to Brotato. But instead of having these like spells that you chain together to have interesting effects, you have like runes to make the actual spell itself. Like how do you make a fireball appear and so on. And I'm currently struggling with how do I define my just data containers, how do I store what information where. And I try to do a minimum of 2 hours every stream, which we have just gotten done. And I am currently in a very sort of brain drained state. And I came to the conclusion that, you know what, I have gotten my... Yes, I draw it by hand into this good old Krita here. Doing my best. We're getting a lot done today. It feels like I've done nothing, but the idea has been sort of like chiseled into shape, and there's a few things I need to just keep in my brain still. Let it bubble forth. But now we're about to choose a game. So what are we playing today? I haven't really decided yet. I should. So one of the things is, should we play I mean, I love Stationeers. But would you like to see me play something different? Maybe we could play Necess. I haven't given that one an honest try yet. We could play Workers and Resources. I acquired it not too long ago. We could play Void Stranger. A fun puzzle-solving game. And over on YouTube as well. If you were there and you feel like it, you're allowed to vote as well. I think I'm pretty sure I put a vote up. But I can't put it on both sides, I'm afraid. So if I do make a poll, it'll only be on the Twitch side. But nah. I really should have prepared for that one better. I was hoping I'd be struck by inspiration. Now, of course, I hunger and lust for that freaking Stationeers. So if nothing else, it will be a good backup there. Logic Systems and Stationeers. Can we play the game of Workers and Resources, which is, can we make communism work in a city builder? And Necess. Alright, a top-down Terraria. Hard to say, really. So many options. Too many games. Nothing else? We'll change scene here. Because hygiene. Let's see here. Save all scenes. And this time we'll actually remember to quit out of that one. And once we figure out what we're playing, then we'll switch over on the YouTube side as well. I gotta be like this theme. Oh, Dwarf Fortress. I haven't played that in ages either. Just double checking. Everything should be fine. So, games we got. We're only playing shit I got actually installed here. So, Stationeers, Void Stranger. Game about solving puzzles by moving blocks. We got Naya Papers, Please, and the demo Path of Akra. It was a fun one. noita. It says more coding in the farmer was replaced. The demo for Dog Witch. Good morning, another Jamie. How you doing? I'm trying to figure out what to play today. I can't decide. Now, Mars First Logistics was fun. The farmer was replaced is a fun time. I unlocked multiple drones and got bogged down in the parallelization last time I played it. Ooh. Hey there, Tourmalines. Hope you're doing well. I'm seeing you're on as well. Yeah, it is fun. I was thinking, because we just did all the coding, but then again, Stationeers is so much coding. I really want to play Stationeers. I am just freaking addicted to this one. So we could also play Void Stranger, which is just very different. Puzzle solving. Well, seeing as I can't decide, maybe we'll just go with the, we'll play what we know. Maybe we'll do Stationeers. Because I know that's a good time. I hope you enjoy it. And we are approaching increasingly large amounts of complications and complexifications in that one. And in the meantime, off stream, I'm going to have to make a list of all the games that I have and all the games that I have installed and all the games I'm sort of planning on playing. Like we have here Whiskerwood, which seemed very fun. Town management, but your mice under the imperial yoke of the royalty of cats. Doing great. Thanks for asking, as always. Hope you're doing well and having a lovely day. I am having a lovely day indeed. I feel like I achieved much and also nothing at the same time in my deving project, which I guess means we made progress. Slowly but surely, we're taking steps forward. And then, of course, thanks to the assistance of certain people, we did get workers and resources. And I'm wondering, it would be interesting to see, can I communism? And I think the answer is we will, but we'll have to actually plan for a proper day for it. So I'll go with Stationeers, and while that is starting, I'm gonna actually change scenes to this one. So we can come up with a name for the stream. And do the awkward on and off jumping on the YouTube side. So we do the... do this one. Jump here, jump there, and progress is progress. That's very true. Oh, now we got too many musics on at the same time. Okay, Stationeers, plans decomposition, stuff blah blah blah. That was good. And then we Swedish right here. And let's see here, where's the button? Let's see if this works. So, I'm going to turn off the live stream and then we'll start the next one over on YouTube.